I call the Minister.
Thank you very much, Mr Deputy Speaker, and again I would acknowledge the honourable member's very firm advocacy for the Coptic community. I did visit his electorate and visit St Marina Church with Bishop Suriel and the clergy and a large contingent of the parish, and he's been a very strong advocate, as has the member for Chifley, been a strong advocate for the Coptic community, and many other members. The member for Parramatta was talking to me about the issue just today. And I recognise all members and members opposite who've also raised concerns for the Coptic community. The Sunday before last, I visited St Mark's in Arncliffe, my second visit, and spent almost all of Sunday at St Mark's with the community. As anybody here, I think the Honourable Member Cook may have been there as well, and it's a wonderful experience. 3 separate churches in the one facility, and they certainly know how to make you feel welcome, and they're certainly passionate about their community. I am a regular interlocutor with Bishop Suriel about the issues facing the community, and with Father Augustino and other fathers in Sydney and in Melbourne as well. In relation to the honourable member's question, the situation facing Copts in Egypt continues to be serious, and of course the government has made, in relation to the foreign affairs portfolio, representations, and of course we'd like to see protections placed in law for churches and other places of worship, and we'd like to see an anti-discrimination law brought into place in Egypt. But until the situation, of course, improves in Egypt, then immigration and refugee issues will, of course, be front of mind. The honourable member asked about the number of grants. In the last 4 years, this government's granted 120 offshore humanitarian visas to Coptic Christians from Egypt. This compares to 1 offshore grant in the last three program years before the election of this government. A further 100 Egyptian nationals have been granted protection onshore in the last program year after seeking protection in Australia, and for the year to date, I'm advised at the 7th of May, the figure for Copts was 33. I would also say that one of the reforms I introduced on becoming minister was every 6 months releasing ministerial intervention statistics. This is my personal power to grant visas, and there are many thousands considered each year. I wanted to introduce more transparency to that process and be more clearer with the Australian community about who gets those ministerial grant visas, because they are appropriately issued in unique circumstances, exceptional circumstances, but it's a very important safety valve. And those figures that I've released would show a particularly high success rate for ministerial intervention when it comes to applications from COPs. They're all considered individually and on their merits, but certainly using my own powers, I do take into account very clearly the situation in Egypt, and the issuing of those visas is something I take very seriously, and hence the high approval rating that would be reflected. In addition, during the height of the unrest last year, I announced that my department would take circumstances in Egypt into account when dealing with the requests for visa extensions, something we do from time to time, in relation to circumstances in home countries, whether it be natural disasters or humanitarian issues such as we've seen in Egypt. And I know that this has helped ensure that individuals can remain in Australia. They may not wish to have permanent residence, they may not wish to seek protection, but they nevertheless do not want to return while the situation is so uncertain, and my department takes as flexible approach as possible in those circumstances. Again, my office engages very regularly with the Coptic community about issues broad and specific and individual, and that is appropriate for a community which is facing such uncertainty and such dangers. I join with the honourable member, as I have in this House before, in paying my respects and condolences for His Holiness Pope Shenouda III, and I have indicated, perhaps without authority, but indicated to the Coptic community that we would welcome the new Pope in the new year for a visit to Australia. I'm sure the entire government and the entire Parliament would hope that he, whichever bishop emerges as the new Pope, would be able to make an early visit to Australia to visit the vibrant and very passionate Coptic diaspora in Australia.